She's thinking about you, even when you're nowhere near her mind. But here's the truth most men will never understand. Women don't fall for games. They fall for understanding. They fall for a presence so magnetic it pulls them in without a word. And the exact phrases that can trigger that attraction? They're not found in pickup lines, nor in confidence alone. They're buried in the subtle way you communicate, in what you say that makes her feel truly seen. Most men fail before they even speak because they underestimate the power of one truth. Women are wired to respond to emotional resonance, not surface charm. You might think that a compliment or a joke is enough, but if you miss the deeper layer, she feels nothing. She moves on, leaving you wondering what went wrong. But there's a shift, a phrase, a sentence that, if delivered with precision, can ignite intrigue, curiosity, and desire within seconds. The first thing you need to understand is timing. This isn't about blurting something random. This is about observation, listening, and catching the tiniest clues in her expressions, the words she chooses, the energy she radiates. A woman unconsciously tests you, always scanning to see if your words carry authenticity, depth, and a spark of understanding she rarely encounters. That's why most men, even confident ones, fail. They speak before they comprehend her world. There's a science to attraction that's invisible to most men. She reacts not to what you think she wants to hear, but what triggers her emotional core, the part of her that craves validation without submission, desire without control, and recognition without pretense. And the secret: you must phrase your truth in a way that honors her individuality while simultaneously igniting her curiosity. That balance is rare, and that rarity is irresistible. Imagine this. You walk into a room and she notices you, but not because of your looks. She notices you because your energy hints at something unspoken, a confidence rooted in self-awareness, a calm yet compelling presence, and an understanding of human nature she rarely encounters. Your words are a reflection of this energy. The sentences you choose are not empty. They are loaded with subtle cues that speak to her desire for a man who gets her without needing to explain her. That's when attraction becomes magnetic. That's when she can't stop thinking about you, even hours later. Now, here's the part most men ignore. Tone, rhythm, and selective silence are as critical as the words themselves. Speak too quickly, and she feels rushed. Speak too softly, and she doubts your intent. Speak without pause, and she loses the chance to process your meaning. But speak with purpose, each word deliberate, each pause calculated, and you communicate more than just language. You communicate power, understanding, and presence. The question every man should ask himself before speaking to a woman is simple, yet devastatingly effective. Am I saying this to impress her, or am I saying this to resonate with the real her? The moment you answer honestly, your words gain weight and your presence gains gravity. That's the invisible key men overlook. And here's a promise. The right combination of words, energy, and emotional precision can make her heart accelerate without a touch, without a look, without even a long conversation. Tonight, think about this. What could you say that would make her feel truly understood, simultaneously intrigued, and secretly longing to know more? Most men can't answer. Most men stay silent. Most men fail. But you, if you listen, observe, and master this, the effect is immediate, profound, and unforgettable. It's not magic, it's psychology, it's strategy, and it starts with what you say and how you make her feel before she even realizes she's feeling anything at all. Now let's get into the core, the sentences that can change everything. There's one undeniable truth most men miss. Women crave validation that doesn't feel like flattery. They want recognition of who they are beneath the surface, the real, complicated, unpolished version of themselves that rarely gets noticed. And if you can voice that recognition in a way that feels effortless, that's when attraction shifts from mild curiosity to magnetic pull. Here's the secret. You don't tell her she's beautiful in a typical way. You don't call her amazing just because society says you should. Instead, you highlight a quality that only someone paying attention would notice. The way her mind works, the way she reacts to situations, the subtle strength behind her vulnerabilities, these are the things that speak volumes. You might say something like, "I notice how you handle things when no one's watching." That's rare. It's simple, yet it taps into an unspoken need, being truly seen. But understanding isn't enough. The delivery matters. Women are finely tuned to authenticity. Any hint of manipulation or rehearsed charm triggers instinctive skepticism. That's why most men fail. They try to mimic attraction rather than cultivate it. You can't fake this. You must genuinely perceive her world and then craft a sentence that reflects that perception. The effect? Immediate emotional resonance. She will lean in without realizing why. Her curiosity will spike. Her subconscious will start associating your presence with safety, insight, and desire. Then there's timing. Timing turns ordinary words into triggers of fascination. You can't unload these phrases all at once. You must sprinkle them, like breadcrumbs leading her mind to your presence. A single well-placed line can stay in her thoughts for hours. That's power. And the most magnetic men understand when to speak, when to pause, and when silence speaks louder than words ever could. Another hidden weapon is subtle challenge. Women are drawn to men who stimulate their mind and emotions, not men who hand them constant validation. It's a delicate balance. You want her to feel recognized, but also intrigued, challenged, but not judged. Phrases like, "I'm curious why you see it that way," or "You're the first person I've met who thinks like that," do more than compliment. They create a sense of rarity and exclusivity. That rarity makes her want to invest emotionally. She will start thinking about you when she's alone, replaying your words in her mind, feeling the magnetic pull you've already established. Here's what most men overlook: the power of asking a question that subtly places her in a position of sharing her mind without realizing it's a test. A well-crafted question shows intelligence, curiosity, and genuine interest. It's not interrogation, it's connection. For example, asking, "What drives you when no one else is looking?" Or, "What makes you feel alive that most people overlook?" shifts the interaction from surface level to profoundly intimate. That's when attraction goes deep, because now she's invested emotionally, narratively, and psychologically in the conversation, and she associates all that with you. The men who fail are loud. The men who succeed are quiet, observant, deliberate. Your sentences are like signals. They carry weight, intention, and insight. They tell her something she rarely hears, that she is seen, that she is understood, and that there is something about you that doesn't conform to ordinary experience. That's the level where instant attraction begins. Tonight, think about the last conversation you had with a woman. Were your words empty, or did they resonate? Were you part of her story, or just another voice in the noise? Because the difference between a glance and obsession is a single sentence delivered with precision, with timing, with depth. That sentence can unlock a part of her mind and heart she didn't even know was waiting for it. By now, you understand that what you say matters, but there's an invisible architecture beneath it, a framework that separates ordinary conversation from magnetic communication. Most men speak linearly. They talk, she listens, and the moment passes. But the men who create instant attraction use a structure women respond to on a subconscious level, one that triggers curiosity, desire, and emotional resonance simultaneously. It begins with observation. Every word you speak should reflect that you notice details others overlook. Women subconsciously test men by watching whether they perceive the world with depth. When you articulate those observations, it signals that your attention is rare and valuable. For example, instead of saying, "You're pretty," you say, "I notice how you hold your thoughts, even when people interrupt you." It's subtle, but it tells me a lot about your strength. One line like that positions you as someone who sees the real her, not just the surface. Next comes emotional alignment. Women instinctively seek men who can mirror their feelings without judgment, who validate their inner world. When you phrase your words to reflect understanding, you bypass skepticism. You don't just say, "I understand you," which is shallow and generic. Instead, you phrase it with subtle authenticity. "I can see why that matters so much to you. It makes sense." This tiny shift conveys depth and emotional intelligence. And here's the key. It's not about agreeing with everything. It's about reflecting understanding while keeping your own presence grounded and independent. That combination is magnetic. Curiosity is your next tool. Once she feels seen, you must ignite intrigue. You do this by crafting phrases that hint at depth without revealing everything. Don't explain yourself fully. Instead, plant ideas that stimulate her imagination. Phrases like, "I've never met anyone who experiences life that way," or, "There's something about how you think that's unique. I want to understand more." Create a magnetic tension. She will start replaying these sentences in her mind, analyzing the subtle cues, and unconsciously building a narrative where you occupy a central role. Timing and pacing are still your allies here. Never rush. Speak in a rhythm that mimics natural thought. Pauses are powerful. A well-placed pause after a phrase allows her subconscious to process your words, to internalize the meaning. Silence isn't empty, it's an amplifier. Your calm presence combined with precise speech signals, confidence, control, and awareness, qualities women instinctively recognize as attractive. Challenge and exclusivity remain critical. Women respond to men who stimulate, not men who flatter. Introduce subtle tension without confrontation. For example, a simple, "You're the first person I've met who thinks like that," signals that she is rare, her qualities noticed, her energy appreciated, but only by someone exceptional. That exclusivity triggers desire because women crave attention that feels earned, not given. Finally, your words should always reflect scarcity. Scarcity doesn't mean playing games. It means maintaining an aura of independence, of self-containment, where your attention is valuable because it isn't freely given. When your communication reflects that you operate on your own terms, yet still notice her uniquely, her mind interprets this as high value, it's primal, it's immediate, and when combined with the right phrasing, observation, and timing, it makes attraction feel unavoidable, almost predestined. Think about it. Every word, every pause, every subtle nod or intonation signals that you are different from the noise she encounters daily. Ordinary men are disposable. Extraordinary men create lasting impressions with minimal effort. That's the edge you gain when you understand the architecture of speech, the psychological triggers hidden in phrasing, and the magnetic alignment between observation, emotion, curiosity, challenge, and scarcity. Tonight, reflect on how you speak to women. Are you merely filling silence, or are you constructing influence? Subtle, potent, irresistible influence. Because when you master this structure, her thoughts will linger on you long after the conversation ends. Her desire will build quietly, almost unconsciously, and attraction will become something she can't help but feel. Now we reach the stage where words alone evolve into influence, where tone, rhythm, and subtle gestures fuse with speech to create a magnetic effect. Women are wired to respond to emotional patterns, not just content. Your phrasing is important, yes, but it's the combination of cadence, delivery, and micro-behaviors that triggers the part of her mind that decides attraction. Most men overlook this, and that's why they remain invisible. Let's start with tone. Your voice must reflect calm authority, confidence, and intrigue simultaneously. A deep, steady voice signals presence and stability, a tone that tells her you are grounded and unshakable. But infuse it with slight warmth, a softness that signals empathy and emotional intelligence. Women can sense dissonance immediately. If your tone is inconsistent with your words, attraction collapses. Speak with conviction, but never aggression. Let your words carry weight without pressing for attention. This is subtle dominance, not arrogance. Next, micro-behaviors. Attraction is 80% nonverbal. The way you hold yourself while speaking, the way your eyes connect, your posture, all communicate far more than your words. Slight lean-ins, controlled hand gestures, and mirroring her energy subconsciously build rapport. But here's the nuance. Overdoing it is dangerous. Too much mimicry, and you appear desperate. Too little, and you appear disengaged. The balance is precise, but once mastered, it signals emotional synchronization, the subconscious language women crave. The real power, however, lies in emotional punctuation. Just as in storytelling, your sentences must rise and fall, leaving impact at key moments. Pause after a revealing observation. Let silence amplify curiosity. Smile lightly when delivering subtle compliments. These micro-moments transform ordinary speech into an experience. You are no longer just speaking. You are orchestrating emotional responses, guiding her thoughts without coercion. That's when attraction feels effortless, as if she's pulled toward you naturally, without realizing why. Let's talk about phrasing that triggers desire at a psychological level. Women respond to validation that doesn't seek approval, curiosity that invites sharing, and subtle challenge that excites the mind. Lines like, "There's something about the way you see the world that I haven't encountered before," or "You have a rhythm in how you think that intrigues me," accomplish all three simultaneously. They communicate recognition, spark curiosity, and place her in a space of emotional engagement where she wants to reveal more of herself. Without pressure, timing remains essential. Never rush these moments. Deliver with pauses, letting her mind fill the gaps. Silence amplifies meaning, allowing her imagination to create scenarios that place you at the center of her attention. Every deliberate pause, every subtle inflection, every controlled gesture compounds attraction. Ordinary conversation creates noise. Precise speech creates obsession. And here's the subtle truth most men ignore. Women are drawn to men who are not wholly available emotionally. This isn't games. It's the natural response to scarcity, independence, and self-containment. When your communication reflects that you operate on your own terms, yet still notice her uniquely, she interprets this as high value. Your words, combined with presence, tone, and micro-behaviors, send an unspoken message. I am rare, and I see you. That combination is irresistible. Tonight, imagine the next conversation you have. Are your words mere sentences, or are they instruments of influence? Are you speaking, or are you creating a magnetic presence that lingers long after the conversation ends? The men who master this craft don't have to try. They are noticed, remembered, and desired without effort. And when you combine this with the right phrasing, observation, and emotional precision, she won't just listen to you, she will feel drawn, compelled, and captivated by the very energy you emit. This is where mastery reveals itself. Everything you've learned, observation, phrasing, timing, tone, micro-behaviors, now converges into a single, undeniable effect: instant magnetic attraction. This is not about trickery or manipulation. It's about understanding human psychology at a level most men will never reach and delivering it with precision, confidence, and authenticity. This is the power of words when paired with presence, awareness, and intention. Imagine her mind as a complex puzzle. Every word you speak, every pause, every subtle gesture becomes a piece fitting perfectly into her subconscious. Ordinary men scatter pieces randomly, creating noise and confusion. But you, who have learned to craft speech and presence strategically, place each piece with purpose. The result: a woman who feels seen, understood, and intrigued by you in ways she cannot easily explain. That is the difference between fleeting attention and enduring fascination. Here's the unspoken truth: attraction is an emotional response, not a logical one. Women do not respond to facts, explanations, or rehearsed lines. They respond to the energy and emotional resonance behind your words. A single well-placed sentence can bypass her conscious filters, embedding itself in her mind, igniting curiosity and sparking desire. When you master this, she doesn't just hear you, she feels you, she remembers you, she thinks about you when she's alone, she wonders why she feels drawn. And the answer is always the same. You spoke in a way that aligned with her subconscious, her desires, and her sense of being truly seen. The final layer is subtle challenge. You are not there to please. You are there to inspire, intrigue, and ignite. Women are drawn to men who hold space for themselves while appreciating her world. When your words reflect this balance, she experiences an invisible tension, a pull that is both emotional and intellectual. Lines like, "I'm curious how someone like you sees the world differently," or "Not many people can handle the way you think, but I find it fascinating," accomplish this effortlessly. You are neither desperate for approval nor indifferent. You are a man whose attention is valuable because it is earned. That is irresistible. Combine this with timing, pauses, subtle gestures, and the right tone, and you achieve a state of influence that is almost hypnotic. She does not just like you, she experiences you. She invests emotionally without realizing it. She builds a story around your presence, and in her mind, that story elevates you above anyone else she has encountered. This is not manipulation, this is mastery. This is the kind of attraction that lasts because it is grounded in authenticity, awareness, and deliberate emotional connection. Now, it's your turn. Think about the next woman you encounter. Picture yourself speaking with observation, emotional resonance, subtle challenge, and intentional presence. Imagine her leaning in, intrigued, captivated, unable to stop thinking about the way you made her feel. That is the power of words and presence mastered. Before you leave, here's a simple exercise. Consider this equation: your attention, plus her uniqueness, plus the right phrasing. The magnetic pull she cannot resist. Comment below what your answer is. Like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who needs to hear this truth. Remember, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary attraction is not effort, it's strategy, insight, and mastery.